Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne from DBpsychology Services, and that's DB Psychology across social media. This morning I'm going to talk about the parenting, which is this week's one of the first blogs in a series of 4, which is this week's blog. It was released on Monday. So if you go and check that out, it's at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com, and it's all about parenting teens. So apologies. First off, it's a huge blog. When I sat down to write them, I actually was only going to write one blog and it turned into 4. And there's still a lot of information that I could write about, and which I will do in the coming months. This morning, though, I'm just going to talk in general about some of the tips I've put in there. The blog is very lengthy, a lot of detail, a lot of very practical tips that parents can take on board. You can take them on board and see so the first thing I'd say to you is teens' bodies are developing, okay? And we all know that. But the thing people tend to not know or not realize enough is, and give enough allowances for, is that their brains are also developing. Now, this brain development will go on until they're actually 26. And, I'm a grandmother now, and I've been to the stage where, you think, oh my God, will they ever grow up? And they're making silly, they make silly mistakes, and you think, oh, will they ever act mature? And then suddenly they are acting mature, and then they're not acting mature. This takes time. I mean, this brain to catch up with their actual physical changes does take time. It dictates how their emotions are on a daily basis, sometimes even on an hourly basis. Their emotions are all over the place. They're up, down, everywhere. So we need to, and I go into a little bit more detail about that in the blog, so do check it out. But we need to make allowances for that. When we understand that not only are there physiological changes going on, but there are also mental changes, the emotional changes are going to take years to develop. And when we understand that their emotions are all over the place, and they just do not have our capability as adults to think the way we do. When you realize that, we can start then making allowances for some of the things that they actually do. Now, I'm not talking about big things. I'm talking about that, I'm talking about how they, how they interact with people, how everything is extreme, the love. I think the one, the classic one is the teenage, falling in love, and oh, it's forever, and and then the best friend, oh, they're BFFs, and then the next minute it's all gone, and then they're back again, and it's it's all up and down. I think we can all relate to that, that there are a couple of two very obvious ways that you could say the brain hasn't developed correctly yet, and their emotions haven't developed properly either. Keep your sense of humor. Knowing this, 2 things: always keep your sense of humor. You're gonna need it. There are times when you will need it. But the thing about it, I would say, is for the vast majority of kids going through the teenage years, I always extend the teenage years to 26. I don't just end them at 18. Is that, for the vast majority of kids, it'll be fine. They won't have developmental health problems. They won't have, they won't be eating, what we're talking about there is eating disorders, depression, anxiety, things like that. There are children who, yes, will develop those, and we know that. We know that in early teens is when, you would start to see mental health problems. So, don't wait. I would always say to you, don't wait. If you suspect something is wrong, and it's teenagers can be very moody, but I do have a blog on, looking at all the eating disorders, they're all up there. Have a look at them. If you suspect anything like that, straight to the GP. In early intervention on any of these is very important. Depression is the same. I have blogs up there on depression in teens, specifically for teens. Go and have a look at them. I have a lot of blogs up there now that are related to the teenage years, related to children, how to handle children and teens at time of separation and divorce. Go have a look at them. Know in advance what you need to know. It's never too early to learn this stuff. Always plan ahead with your kids, even when your kids are younger. Oh, you plan ahead. How are we going to deal with what information do we think we might need? It's better to have, that earmarked and say, okay, I don't need it, but if it does arise, I know where to go and look for help. It's better to do that than be caught on the hop. And the other thing I was going to say was, don't lose your sense of humor, and don't take stuff personally. You get the slamming doors, you get told, oh, you're a bitch, or whatever it is. Don't take those things personally. It isn't personal. It really isn't. They just not, we're thinking here, they're thinking down at the base. They're thinking down at the amygdala. And to say that is, if I'm not saying don't have consequences. That is not what I'm saying. And you'll see that in the blog. I actually go through and say, you have to have consequences. And that'll bring me on to my first point. My first point is about, healthy boundaries. So model healthy boundaries for your kids. And I have a blog up there on what exactly is healthy boundaries. Show them how to model healthy boundaries for when they leave the home and they're interacting with their peers and they're interacting with older people, that they know how, what's right and what's wrong in terms of, somebody's crossed a line. It's very important, though, that they're actually seeing you do that as well. The next thing is about discipline. And so I call it house rules. You have to set the house rules, and if you're in a relationship, you have a partner, if you're not parenting alone, both of you need to be singing off the same hymn sheet. You both need to have the same house rules. So you decide on the house rules first. And then what I would suggest to you is go and talk to the children and the teens, okay? And get them involved in setting the house rules. And I have said don't set any more than 10. And consequences. You decide, okay, these are the consequences we feel that you need to suffer if you break the house rules. But ask them, because you'll be very surprised to see that the consequences may be even tougher coming from them. And when you have them on board and you have their cooperation, they feel you're respecting them, and that's very important. Especially with teens, that they feel they're being respected. They want to assert their independence and push away from you, because that's their job at this point. Their job is to actually push away and to assert themselves and become independent adults. That is what, the teenage years is all about. But they very, very much still need those healthy boundaries. They still need the house rules. They still need the consequences. And so getting them on board in doing this contract, it's a contract between you and them, but also a contract that when they bring somebody else into the house, that person will know you will know and understand the house rules are also applied to them, and they will police their friends when they come in if they're on board with this contract. So I have listed out a lot of things to do with that, so go have a look at that. The next point I want to make this morning is about modelling good anger management and their emotions. As I've said at the start, their emotions are all over the place. They're up, down, right, left. They're almost like, I don't know, a rocket or something. Zoom, 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 all over the place. So you have to be modelling good anger management, and you also have to be modelling expression of emotions in an appropriate way. Now, have a look at my blogs on that, and you guys, do I need an anger management course? Maybe am I doing it right? Am I do I have an issue with this? And if you do, be honest, put your hand up and go, okay, I've got a problem with anger. I need to go get it sorted out. I need help. Don't ever be afraid, to ask for help and go get it. The help is there. An anger management course is a very short thing to do, and it will actually show the children, show your teens that you aren't afraid to ask for help, because then they will see, okay, you're human, you're imperfectly perfect, and you're more approachable, and that I can ask for help too. I can ask mum or dad for help too, and that's okay. Because they're going to need your help. You're the crutches that they need before they take off into the independent adult world. The same about stress levels. If your stress levels are off the charts, it's going to ripple down and affect onto the children and onto the teens. So, have a look. I have a blog again. I have a blog done on stress management and how to reduce your stress. So think about doing that. Think about taking, this is again modeling a good, healthy boundaries. That's what this is, managing your anger, stress reduction. It's all about healthy boundaries. And this is what you want to show them, how to manage their stress, particularly at times of, end of year exams, as in end of school exams before they go on to college, university, and how to manage their stress levels when they're in college and again as adults and in later life, because what you're modeling for them now will in fact be modeled back to your grandchildren and to your great grandchildren. It all ripples down unless we make a very conscious decision to change how we parent. We will actually revert back to how we were parented. So think about that. Think about what you want to what way you want to parent, what way you want your children to feel. Think about reducing that stress level, managing your anger, managing all your emotions. I don't want to just harp on about anger, but modeling all your emotions. Now, if nothing else this morning, if you don't and if you don't have time to read the blog in full, read the section on spending time just listening. Okay, number one, active listening. If you do nothing else for your teen throughout their entire teenage years, I'm talking about the 13, I always extend teens, as I said, I always extend teenage years to 26. Active listening. Learn how to active listen. Very, very, very important. And I have, I've listed it out in a number of blogs, how you actually active listen. Spend one-to-one time with them. They all need it. And, find common ground. Find common ground. There'll be something that you probably, one or either of you are, you like. There'll be something, a sport, music, a television series. There'll be something. And stop talking about it yourself. Let them talk. And why I'm saying that is, the more you get them to talk about things like this, the easier it will be for them to come and talk to you about problems when they're facing an issue. If you get them and keep them talking. Yes, you will get the grunt. Yes, you'll get the silence. Yes, you may get the slamming doors. But just keep talking to them. Always, always, always. No matter how much they just give you a grunt answer or you get silence in response, just keep talking to them. Just keep talking. Let them go then. Let them calm down. Let them come back to you. But you always stay civil. Don't use anything like sarcasm, or there's a whole load of other things I've said. Don't use them. Just don't do that with kids. Be sincere. And just keep that level of dialogue going. And their faces light up when they talk about something they're interested in. They really do. They just come alive. And I'm not talking about sitting face to face, like, I'm facing the camera now and you guys are looking at me and things like that. But I'm talking about the side to side. You're sitting in the car. You could be, putting away the dishes into the, cleaning up after dinner, or there could be some other time. You're even just sitting watching whatever the sport is. That's when you get them to talk about it. That's when you get them to talk. This face to face is a little bit too confrontational sometimes for them. So the side to side, when they're just sitting beside you or standing beside you, better time, or they're behind you, it's a better time in the car, they're sitting behind you, it's a better time to talk. And just let them ramble on. Just let them talk about it, whatever that interest is. There'll always be something. And just let them talk and talk computers, whatever. Yap, 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 yap. And it gets them opening up. It gets them, and you really listen to them. When they see that you are actually listening to them and that you are actually responding, maybe they put a question to you, or you ask them questions. Ask them a single question and then let them, ramble on about that particular topic. That's when they see that you are interested in them, you're sincere, you're respecting them, and they feel then that they can come to you and talk to you when they do have issues. The last point I'd make about listening is always give 5 good compliments, 5 compliments, if you like, to any one negative you give. That's very important. I mean, if you're being put down on a constant basis, you wouldn't like it. You really wouldn't. You'd be going, well, I don't want to be here. I'm backing out of here. I'm leaving. Go away. I don't want to know about it. But when you receive, when you receive a compliment, they mightn't say anything. They might just get a smile and, pretty good, but you won't get a comment. But they'll hear it. They're constantly hearing what you're saying. So think about that. Think about how you would feel if somebody was constantly being negative around you. Think about the behavior and think about how you would react. Well, guess what? They're going to react exactly the same. And I do go into a point in the blog about helping them solve their own problems. So, think about, and I'm not talking about the big problems. I'm talking about showing them how to work solutions to things in school and, maybe sports or whatever it is. I'm not talking about big issues like mental health or, anything really major, disabilities, depression, or, you're not just throwing them out and going, there, solve your own problems. I'm showing them, modeling them good solutions. Okay, showing them how to you're modeling to them how you would actually solve a problem, whether it be in later life in work or in college or, even just in school, a problem with school work or managing their time, things like that. And I do give you a detailed list on how to do that. The last thing I'm going to say this morning is expect rejection. And I've already said it in the blog. You're going to be rejected. It's their job to reject you. It's their job to grow up and become independent adults and take on board all the morals and values that we give to them. But they're going to reject you. Okay, it's a turbulent time. For the most part, it's going to be okay. But just expect rejection. And as I said, keep your sense of humor and don't take it personally. It isn't. It really isn't personal. If you have any problems with your teen, if you feel there are any issues that you really need help with, don't wait. Go to your GP. Always remember you can self-refer. You can self-refer on to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Look for help. Ask for help. It's so important to ask for help. So I'm going to leave it at that this morning. Do check out the blog again. Apologies for the length of the blog, and I will be back next week. I'm going to talk about anger next week and helping your teen deal with anger. So I will hope to see you all next Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining me. And I leave it at that. Goodbye.